Well, it's an important day in Kenya as we mark the launch of the Association of Pension Trustees and Administrators of Kenya. This is APTAC, and I can confidently say there's a lot of expectations even as we launch APTAC today from trustees across the country, and we know we are going in the right direction. And
I am humbled and delighted this morning to see such a wonderful crowd. Reflecting back from where we started, I think it's an amazing thing. Looking back to those many years, I can only say that something that starts small can actually grow to be what it is today. I am very, very much grateful to the president of APTAC, Osea Kili, for driving this association to where it is today. When we look at back history lane, this association started not as APTAC, but it started as APAC. By then, we had not made provision for a very critical stakeholder called the trustees. And I recall very well the first letter when I called my elder brother, Kili, and asked him that we are, as pension administrators, we don't seem to have a home. And at that time, I reached out to Kili and asked him, is there a way we can form an association? And he was very, very much grateful. Then he was having even a big idea of how we can start an examination to certify pension administrators, if I recall very well, by Kili. So we held a small meeting over a cup of coffee in his office, and from there, this association was born. Today, I am very, very excited, and I'm more delighted to have been invited to have an opportunity to address this big group, having started when we are only 7 in his office, and today we have a body which cannot be ignored in the pension industry. There is no organization that can drive the policy and the direction of pension investment other than this that brings together the trustees and the administrators, because they are the key stakeholders in running and driving the institutions.
We need to look at why we have APTAC. We need to look at the membership, and we could have a discussion when you want. We didn't have a pension regulator. Disclosure requirements were not there. There were no requirements for disclosure like annual report, no preservation, and there were no standards set for funding of pension industries. That's the dark age we came from. But now the wise people came with a regulator. They have put in place a requirement for the regulator to regulate the establishment and management of retirement benefit schemes. As the regulator looks at the industry, he must ensure that the interests of members and the sponsors of retirement benefit schemes are looked at. APTAC, as an organization itself, is a non-profit organization. We don't make any profits. We are only there to serve the members. We have a written constitution which guides on who should be a member and how the management will be done. The persons primarily running it is the Congress, which meets together with all the members, they make a decision. The Council, which is the primary organ directing the actions, and the Secretariat, which works as the handman of the Council. The President of the Association is Osea Kili, is present here. The Deputy President is Charles Nyamaino, is present here. The Treasurer is Peter Rotich, is present here. And the retired Secretary General is present now speaking to you. My name is Boniface Mwangangi. Now, why do you need APTAC? Its business is to ensure promotion of prudent trusteeship and administration. If you heard what Ayabei described as their thinking behind, we want to see an industry where the administrator and the trustee are capable of thinking and working in the same direction. We want to ensure there is best practice in trusteeship and administration of retirement benefit schemes. We will do so by conducting regular trainings, education, and partnership, so that we have a system which is recognized nationally and it works nationally with all the stakeholders. We do not desire to be affiliated with a certain cause which is prejudicial or non-prejudicial, but a service to the industry we will recognize and we will be part of it. We will, and we assure you, ladies and gentlemen, give you well-researched objectives, independent and reasoned opinions, and give you guidance as members. Our members are corporate members, we have administrators, we are registering corporate trustees, and we have individual persons who are trustees and other persons who are studying or are geared towards becoming service providers in that industry. These are benefits that so far, and we have only taken a limited number, that we would like to provide to the members. We need to cooperate and work with government, regional, and international organizations. We want to encourage and promote settlement of disputes. We have too many of those disputes all over the place. And we need to have a forum for dialogue and advocacy. We don't want to take adversarial steps against or for any person. We want to work, and we'll try as much as possible to work with every other person who has an interest in this industry. Joint researches with the trustees and administrators. We will give you independent advice on topical issues, because we don't render any service. We don't render services for profit. Ladies and gentlemen, we assure you, the person we are loyal to is you, the member of APTAC. We will advise you on dispute resolutions which occur in retirement benefit schemes. We have already staged a program for training, and we will do so for members. We will announce that. Then we will also advise you on regulatory compliance and give you legal advice where you desire any, and it will be an independent opinion. From here, ladies and gentlemen, we need to start, and we will do so. We will hold monthly seminars, physical or webinars, to ensure that you receive information.
That in our constitution, which we had to amend, actually the entire constitution now is very professionally done and is in line with the Retirement Benefits Act and regulations. For us to have you as a member, if you are a trustee, you have to be a certified trustee. So you need to get certified. So you can see when I'm home that we are actually linking all these things. The second thing, that if you are a corporate trustee, you've got to be a registered corporate trustee who is compliant. And I think I can see in the latest amendments to the RBA Act, there's additional regulations on corporate trusteeship, which has been missing in the past. So the other members whom we have apart from trustees and corporate trustees is the student trustees. So if you are undertaking training in student to be a trustee, you qualify to be a student member. So we want to work with you from the one side to the other. The other side of administrators, the Constitution says that you've got to be qualified as by the requirements of RBA in terms of being an administrator. So for now, of course, there is clear qualification for corporate administrators. I know all of us who are here who are running administration businesses, all of us are qualified. So those are the members who are qualified to be members of this as corporate administrators. And I want to really applaud our founder members and the colleagues who are with us. The other administrators are individual trustees who are running secretariats of the retirement benefit schemes. So we do have many of them, One of them, of course, is my vice president here and others. Then we do have, again, those ones who are not necessarily the principal officer of the administration or the administration, but they are officers working within the administration of that institution. They are qualified as ordinary individual members. And now these are the people who will remain as members forever until you retire to move from one side to the other, as the SG has said. Now, we allow also other stakeholders to be part of us. We call them honorary members. So we will be, in every year when we have our international conference, we will be admitting certain people who have played a critical role in pension industry generally, not just in administration, but generally we feel that these people have contributed critical into that. And there's some very key people we are already looking at their CVs and their performance. Some of them have been founder leaders of our regulatory authority. This is the kind of situation we feel creates an orderly way of engaging. Just like there was a need in the year 1997 for retirement benefits sector to be made independent of employers and members, and the trustees to be given the fiduciary responsibility to take care of the members' money. That same realization is actually together as with us now today. Some of the funds we have, like my funds, which are large, seems to be attracting attention from, again, another element whereby there's a need, there's a feeling that there should be an encroachment. I want us to protect, all of us, independence of the pension schemes. Please don't keep quiet when there's an encroachment, because the sins of yesteryears where pensions used to be used by institutions to run their normal business can come back again. So we are happy that ARBS put us together when there was a challenge of requiring that somebody else regulates a part of the functions of a trustee, which includes looking for service provision and items for running the pension scheme. I know that matter has not been concluded in the Court of Appeal, but it's a way that all of us must come together. Nothing, just like Kenyan fought for independence, it's not easy sometimes to win some of these wars. But I want to tell you, I'm so courageous that I want to protect pension industry. And please, those who are with me, let's stand firm, because when we retire, we don't want anybody to touch our money. Our lives depend on independence of the pension.
Indicates that by 2030, the number of Kenyans aged 60 years and above will rise from 1.6 million to 3.4 million. Well, this will be a time bomb, because less is saved for investment, both at the family level and nationally. And you have proposed that Kenya institutes a universal pension coverage for all citizens to deal with the issue. How can this be actualized? Are we being too ambitious?
When ISA, which is an over 100 years association internationally, and which our institution here is a member,
yes,
is that they have been talking about universal social security coverage, and it has been actually codified under International Labour Organization conventions. Now, these are domesticated in Kenya through our constitution. Article 43 of the constitution domesticates social security and social protection. And that's why you find certain rights have actually been recognized in our constitution, and even our municipal law. Normally our Kenyan law is called municipal law for lawyers. Our municipal laws have actually recognized that, and that's why, Habiagina, you have been seeing the Ministry of Labor distributing cash transfers to the elderly. It is in recognition of the convention signed by Kenya of that responsibility. But unfortunately, we have taken it to be a last priority, or not a very first priority. So it means the elderly in our society unless you have been working for jobs which we have been working and you have saved, your employer has enabled you to save, your retirement can easily become a nightmare. And it's going to happen for many of us because we have no arrangement made by the government in any way. And everything else is taken as a tokenism. Our members of parliament, we need to actually take them to training, all of us here, for them to appreciate that there is a responsibility. And sometimes they forget that they actually retire also. Since I work in the county government space, I am actually engaging with former councillors who have actually come back to ask for a pension from the government. So to avoid that, I am talking about, can we move to a mandatory universal pension arrangement? And I've written so much about it, and I'm still writing more. And our APTAC association has actually put forward for the next year budget proposals for this. So I will be talking more about this. Thank you very much, Abby.
And Mr. President, you leave a lot of expectations, especially when you say leave no one behind. How do we achieve this as APTAC?
You know, I like hopeful people. I'm a very positive-minded person. I have no room for negative thoughts. When our third president, Kibaki, came in, I do remember very well that he came in when already the Nyayo era had actually literally put our economy into a big mess. Mm-hmm. You remember he made a promise that he was going to make primary school education free. There were no resources. But the main thing is the political will to say that. I am actually challenging all of us to say, why should you be chillers or to be, as a working class person, that your brother who is not having an employment, why can't we arrange a universal pension for everybody so that we leave nobody behind? It is doable, and I believe we can do it. Thank you.
Let me bring in NSC CEO, Mr. Geoffrey Odundo. And Mr. Odundo, you sit at a very vantage point in the economy. We're looking at the hub for investors to tap in. That is the NSC. And pension funds are some of the biggest institutional investors at the exchange and indeed stock markets across the world. What rebound strategies are the market players and the exchanges adopting to ensure that they bounce back from what we've experienced as a country? That is, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic, which did affect various industries adversely.
And first of all, is to applaud APTAC for this great launch. Us as NSC, we are also very happy to be part of this. We're very happy to see our partners as stakeholders and trustees together. We call trustees owners of capital, so we're very happy to see them here. So to your question, how are we positioning ourselves in light of the COVID-19 and tapping into the opportunities that we're going to create for the funds to actually get return? I think the first thing that we must recognize is what is the role of a pension scheme. Now, the role of a pension scheme is to give you a safety net on retirement. And that pool of money should actually be a real return, a real pool of money, not eroded by
our pensions has occupied the international
over the years of
space
investments,
as a priority item. I think
real returns over and above the level of inflation so that they're able to give their members a comfortable retirement. And I think that's the most important thing. But that begins with the process of asset selection and picking assets that can actually give you inflation-beating returns. So we recognize that we have a role to play. The capital markets do provide asset classes that are very attractive. I do say that with a bit of caution because we've got volatility in these markets. But overall, we provide a very, very ideal asset class. So what we've done as the NSC is really see that how can we broaden our offering. So in our new strategy, 2020-2024, we are actually enhancing uptakes of our new products. In the last 5 years, we have actually developed almost 5 new products. I'm speaking about real estate investment trusts, derivatives, ETFs, and really these are really new products that are a bit very good for the market. We've also introduced what we call an OTC market for private listings, so which again, companies that are not ready to come to the market but have got good returns and good governance structures around them are being put on that platform. And we see these as opportunities for trustees to broaden their portfolios as well as to manage risk. I'd like to point out that we have seen a high level of volatility because there's no level of protection of pension funds. So derivatives is a market we created to provide protections. We've so far developed future contracts. So if you have exposures in equities, you're able to take a hedge using derivative contracts, and that's going to help you really manage that, because recognizing what happened during COVID, there was a lot of devaluation, especially on the equity markets. If you had protection by having sell contracts, for instance, to protect certain portfolios, you'd actually be better off. We've done a back testing of this, and we've seen some great value that have been created. My colleague Terry, who runs the derivatives market, can attest to that. So are we encouraging trustees to really get out of the traditional thinking of let's just buy stocks and leave them exposed, but take a derivative contract to wrap it and to protect it. And that way you're going to be able to minimize the exposure like what we saw during COVID. The other thing that we have actually done as well, and we're in the process of just about to launch, is introduce securities lending and borrowing framework. Now trustees, pension funds are long-term asset holders. So you hold a position of a stock, you actually hold it more or less in perpetuity. But why not lend that stock to the market and then make some returns over time? And then in the process, you're able to get that market back, that stock back. You don't lose your dividends, you don't lose your bonuses, the economic benefits of your asset remain with you. But you're able to lend this to an investor who will trade on it and return it. Now that's another way of enhancing returns. So we'll also soon be introducing day trading, where you'll be able to buy and exit a position in a day, and that again should be able to help turnover go up. So there are all these new ideas we're encouraging trustees to look at. Look at real estate investment trusts. You're all holding property assets that again were highly illiquid or remain highly illiquid now. I don't think we'd ever recognize a position that we'll all be in today where property is not as attractive as it used to be. I think we all rent into property and we're making some incredible returns. It used to give me nightmares. But now, cash is king. And everybody who's holding cash is picking assets, even property, at really discounted values. So I think there's need for trustees and pension and administrators and pension funds to really modernize how they manage their money, use the products we've given you in the market to really do that, and really help you protect the investment return for pension funds. And I like forums like this because these then give you a knowledge sharing platform, and you're then able to really understand and learn from each other. Kenya is still a very young country. We have very young workforce, so nothing stops us from really taking more aggressive positions in the market and really protecting those investors, those pensioners.
All right, you are rolling out. And speaking to these products, Mr. Odundo, the aspect of transition will heavily be hinged towards technology. And pension administrators in the country have been embracing technology, and this is tipped to totally level the playing field. We are seeing serious policy outcomes from the national government saying issues such as pension-backed mortgages. And from where you sit, Mr. Odundo, I just want to understand, what do you see the retirement benefits sector industry playing in the financial markets now that you are having more awakening of the industry?
In our industry, we basically have one very critical saying where we say liquidity begets liquidity. Now, we will not see international capital coming into a market where there's no strong domestic pools of capital. A local domestic pool of capital is so important to attract the international pool of capital, because when these investors come in, they want to have natural exits through the market. And that's why the growth of pension schemes are so important for the capital markets. We are very happy to see them grow at these fast rates, and ours is to encourage them. So they play a very significant role in the development of capital markets. We are currently ranked as one of the best performing frontier markets in the world using the MSCI Capital Markets Index. That gives us a good positioning as far as that's concerned. We're looking at becoming an emerging market, and we need to tick some boxes, and critical to that is the capital formation of our domestic market. And critical to capital formation then are pension funds. So we are very, very cognizant that we need to encourage the growth of pension funds, increase the coverage from the current 15%, enhance interest, have voluntary contributions. Chairman here is a champion of the ABCs as our chairman of the NSC pension scheme. He used to give us money or reward us with money to actually invest for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So I think we need to encourage those, and we need to encourage employers. I like your point about the mandatory universal pension scheme. It's really important. We need to do that, and that's very important. You spoke about technology, and technology for us is very critical. One of the things that we would like to see, and we're happy to see starting now, is the ability of Kenyans being able to actually have pension funds, even if they're in the informal sector, but through an online platform. Today we have Kenyans who are very big on M-Pesa, M-Akiba, M-Shwari, and all this, but I've not heard of a real uptake of M-Pension. Where are they saving that money? So we need to have...
That's a good challenge.
we need to have that level of interest coming through, mm-hmm. Where you can aggregate all these small monies into some larger pool of capital and invest. Mm-hmm. And that way I think we're going to really transform our market. So I think technology has to be central in that setup.
Fantastic. I know, Mr. Hosea, well, listening to the other two speakers, you clearly find the industry is ready. They want to take things to the next level. They want to take aggressive positions in the market. At the same time, from where you sit, what lessons have we learned from the COVID-19 pandemic as a sector, and what are we doing differently to remain competitive as a country, considering that the pensions industry is very dynamic?
The challenge of COVID, I think that's the question. We saw quite a number of challenges in the industry that got us thinking. I'm sure where you sit, you have seen layoffs. We have seen at the authority request for suspension of contributions. We have seen requests for access to withdrawals. And we have seen requests to not comply with some regulations that we enforce. And being a listening regulator, we actually innovated regulation and accepted some of the issues that trustees of pension schemes were not able to comply with. For example, we were able to suspend some of the meetings that they usually have, that delayed some of the submissions that come to the authority, like the audited financial statements. We also allowed them to suspend, we also suspended the TDPK training, and I think most of us have done that training. We have since revised the curriculum, and if you have done it, we might call you for a refresher course in the near future. So a number of these things made us be very innovative in the way we regulate, and that has pushed us to where we are. I'm sure that in whatever sector you are in the country, we rely a lot now on technology to conduct business. So we do a lot of virtual meetings. We do a lot of submissions online. And I think that's where we are going. So we are not a very rigid, we are not rigid regulator at all, and we listen, and I think.
So it gives me great pleasure and honor to join you all here today as we congregate to unveil the associations of pension trustees and administrators of the Kenya. Let me thank the APTAK President, Mr. Hosea, and the council members for extending this invitation to the CS and the ministry at large. Ladies and gentlemen, from the recent economic survey 2021, the majority of the population is still engaged in the informal sector, accounting for 83 of all the recorded employment. The income of the majority of this informal sector employment is often neutral, and meaning that they are at risk of easily sliding into poverty, and hence the need of social protection. So as we look at the other sectors, they see the informal sector is quite key, and to ensure it is also vibrant, and they are not able to, they don't seem to need issues of poverty because of the vulnerability. This issue of social security becomes quite evident. This means that as a government, we remain cognizant of this fact, and that we ensure that the leave no one behind agenda, that is a central promise of 2030 agenda of sustainable development goals, remain live in our planning. Ladies and gentlemen, beyond protecting people from occupational risk, securing their retirement, and cushioning members against the short and long-term economic and health impact of the current pandemic, pension funds need to be leveraged to adequately protect individuals, households, and businesses from the adverse social and economic repercussions of the crisis. We have been witness that with the current COVID pandemic, we have seen the need to ensure that at least the current population is actually covered. And this is happening all over the world because of people required to ensure that at least they have got something to fall back to. With this said, the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection is keen to engage stakeholders to put in place legislation and the measures geared toward the installation of a social safety net for our people to cushion them during such times. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya has signed a number of international agreements requiring the government to invest in a comprehensive package of social security. This includes the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
We have more
International
pension
Convention
scheme
on
carry
Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, the United Nations Conventions on Rights of the Child, the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, and the United Nations Conventions on the Right of the Persons with Disability. The government of Kenya is further committed to achieving the UN Sustainable Development Goal by the year 2030, in which social security is a key pillar. Also in Kenya, our social protection programs are among the most successful in this region. Currently, the social assistance program, mainly in the form of cash transfer, are reaching more than 1.3 million needed households nationwide through the Inua Jamii cash transfer to orphans, children, people with disability, and the older persons. Part of the process of the globalization means that countries must begin to develop and facilitate development through putting local investment, and one of the best vehicles for that is through the pension fund. Because of this realization and the growing size of retirement benefit fund in developing countries, the discussion on public policy in the financial services must now include retirement benefits more prominently. In this line, I wish to laud the associations of pensions trustee administrators of Kenya for providing a credible platform that seeks to bridge the gap between policy recommendations and the programs on the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, while we appreciate that we have to do such more to ensure our people are both covered and have access to social security, our approach to this must not only reflect best practice, but also to embrace and harness at its core the spirit and the culture of innovation. Only then shall we set ourselves apart and remain firmly to the road to prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, the measure of a good retirement scheme should be one that gives adequate and sufficient benefits to prevent old age poverty. As a ministry in charge of social protection, we would be happy if when people retire, they do not need to be brought at the older pension cash transfer because they saved at a good scheme that guarantee them social security for the rest of their old age life. This way, they will live in dignity. So we are saying, not just, we don't look for that everybody, by the time they grow old, they are coming for the cash transfer for the older persons, but at least they should have some programs in place where they can be able to live a life which is more dignified. A good retirement scheme should also be affordable so that Investing in it isn't viewed as displacing funds meant for something else by those saving for retirement. It must also be sustainable by financially sound over a long period so that when those retiring need their money, the same is available. In addition, it must be very robust so that it can withstand major shocks. It is for these reasons that the government started the reforms of NSSF to ensure at least what the workers have actually contributed, it remains more sustainable. The reform at NSSF were guided by the Constitution of Kenya, 2010, ILO Convention 1952, that is C102, recommendations on National Social Protection Fronts, 2012, and the National Social Security Policy, 2011. One of the reforms that was to make NSSF a broader fund with the capacity to provide both long and short-term social security benefits as provided by the ILO Convention on the Minimum Standard, 1952. ILO Convention on Employment Promotion and Protection Against Unemployment of 1988, that is the C188, and the ILO recommendations concerning national flaws of social protection, 2012, or 2002. Currently, Section 4 of the National Social Security Act, number 45 of 2013, highlights the main objective of NSSF as, first, to provide basic social security for its member and their dependent for various contingency as provided under the Act, to increase membership coverage of the Social Security scheme, to improve adequacy of benefits paid out by the scheme, and to bring within the ambit of this Act self-employed persons to access Social Security for themselves and their dependents. And we have to report that at least we have been able to cover quite a considerable number of the self-employed under the Haba program. In the face of continuing economic difficulty brought about by COVID-19 pandemic, and the risk, it is clear that their retirement and disability benefit that are provided by the NSF Act are not enough, and the answer to reducing poverty in old age. Benefits replacement rates may decline with unemployment spell as one would access early retirement benefit. Ladies and gentlemen, in an attempt to bring the informal sector players in the Social Security, NSF introduced an informal sector product, that is the Haba in November 2019. The product is based on 6A, that is analogy, that is awareness, adequacy, adaptability, affordability, accessibility, and adaptability. It allows members to withdraw up to 50% of the accumulated benefit with interest after consistently contributing for a period of 5 years. The plan also allows for daily saving through mobile money platform of 25 shillings per day. It also allows the option where members can make weekly and monthly contributions, so making it quite affordable for the informal sector. This product is designed in such a way that members' registration, validation of details, checking of statement, and the payment are done through mobile phone through the user number *300#. As of 30th June 2021, 160,000 new members were registered under this product. Ladies and gentlemen, the government continues to try to put in place measures to tackle the challenges of having an aging population that is not cushioned through pension. To this end, the Ministry, the Retirement Benefit Authority, and other stakeholders, including the private sector and the consortium such as the APTAK, must work together to identify and implement simple, flexible, transparent terms that will ensure that every person who is working, regardless of where that is, contribute and save enough for their old age.